Greetings and happy Thursday wherever you are. And I'm still locked in this room. Not too much room on either side, but hopefully I'm gonna get a clean bill of health here today or tomorrow and get out of here. But it's been great, got a lot done. But I wanted to continue our discussion on the three things you can do to avoid the racing pandemic that's worse than COVID. We started it last time. So if you got some comments, get your comments in. And because some of this feedback is coming from your comments from last time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to address some of those. Now, what is the pandemic that's worse than COVID? And the pandemic is a mental health pandemic. It's not the disease. It's the worry about the disease. It's the lockdown from the disease. It's the isolation because of the disease. It's the ripple effect of the disease. It's all kinds of things that have a much greater long-term impact on you, on your income, and on your life. And it's just not being addressed. I think I addressed last time. I said, good to see you. Again, if you've got questions about this, just type them in. I'm going to do my best. I answered a bunch last time. We had quite a few people asking questions. I'll do my best from a point of view of Little Voice Mastery as to how to address some of these things. But like I said, the Olympics brought something to light, and that was that athletes have feelings too, and emotions get involved, and people think, well, they shouldn't do that. They should toughen up and do the Olympics. And I said, and the only difference between them is they've got the microphone and the camera in their faces, so they have to respond somehow or other. But what about the other 7 billion of us that don't have to respond? They go around in quiet isolation and sometimes even suffering. It's like my Buddhist friends, my Buddhist monk coach says, he goes, suffering is just part of life. You cannot avoid suffering. But there's a way out of suffering, and suffering is caused by wanting something that you don't have or having something that you don't want primarily. And that could be a lot of different things. So how do you deal with all that? So that's what I want to address, because I don't think anybody's really addressing it. Good morning from Thailand. Good morning from India. Good evening from India, from Anand. Good to see you again. So again, a couple of the questions that came up had to do with from Ants Kong. So I don't know, Ants, if you're here, Ants Kong. And what she said is, how do you avoid noise if you're stuck at home with that noise, mentally down, and have people around you who are not supportive or somewhat negative? Okay, so this is a good one, because what happens, whether you have the COVID or not, you're locked down with your family. You're locked down in a household. You're locked down someplace. Or if you're not completely locked down, you're limited on where you can go. And this is true in Thailand. It's true in India. It's true in America now. It's true all over the place. So what do you do? Hey, Christian, good evening from Switzerland. Good to hear from you, Rashmi, as well. Okay. So again, if you have comments or questions, type them in. I'll do my best to respond to them. And if not, just post them on Facebook, and I'll post them next week. I'll respond to them next week. So Ant says, how do you avoid the noise, the negative noise, I'm assuming, when you're isolated with other people? Well, and that's a good question to ask. And there's not an easy answer, but the first answer is you've already answered it. It's first of all, be aware that you're in a space that's not being 100% supportive to you. And sometimes, like with me in this isolation here, I'm happy that the door's closed. I'm happy that I don't go out there. I'm happy that I can just be here with my thoughts, read, create, do the things that I need to do. And so in a way, the quarantine's been a blessing. Why? Because it's forced me to get some downtime. It's forced me to get my life a little more organized. And I noticed that I have resistance. I don't want to do it. I'm too tired. But I have no excuse now. And so what's happened, it's allowed me over the last several weeks to get focused, more committed. And I'm really happy to do this, to happy to be on my own. So what do you do if you have negative voices around you? Well, the first thing to do is to, and someone else said, I think it was Beatrice last time said, when she met me to train the trainer in 2018, we talked about code of honor. Code of honor. You know what the code of honor is? Your set of rules for yourself. You know, I talked about on Kilimanjaro that my set of rules allowed me to make a great decision as opposed to a catastrophic bad decision with my son many years ago. So again, it's the rules that protect you from you, not from other people, but the rules that protect you from you. So this issue about other people around is not about them. It's about you. They're going to do what they're going to do. You can't change them. And let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to change somebody else? How's that work for you? Not too well. And if somebody has ever tried to change you know that's even worse. So the best bet you've got still comes back to the primary rule of personal development is that if for things to change, as Tony Robbins would say, first you got to change, or I got to change. I got to change me. So what's that look like? Well, what are your rules around for yourself, Ants? I mean, you know, are you going to allow people to dump all that negativity on you? Or are you going to say, look, I really, right now, I need some time to myself. I'm not open to that right now. And again, if you got something positive to say, I'm willing to hear it. Negative stuff, I'm just not willing to. Now, what could happen? Well, what problem could that create? Well, the problem that creates is that you get other people upset with you. Okay, they're gonna be upset with you because you unhooked them, and they don't want to be unhooked because they want to dump on you. They want to have somebody to suffer with or to suffer with them. But in life, if you allow it, then that's where you're going to live. I'm going to say this, that if you got negativity around you when you're locked down, you probably have it elsewhere in your life when you're not locked down. Okay, so it's a blessing to discover that, in fact, I need to set some boundaries around myself. And if I need to let other people know, I let them know. If it upsets them, how do I handle that problem? Well, I explain to them, here's why I'm doing this. It's not because of you, it's because of me. Because if I have enough of my own negative thoughts, and if I start bringing in others, then I could go into full stage depression, and I don't want to do that. Do you want me to do that? They go, no, of course not. Okay, good. So that's why I'm doing this. So it's not about you. It's all about me. You lay it on yourself, take responsibility, and allow yourself to create some boundaries around yourself. Now, what else do you do? Find something else to do, something else to occupy yourself rather than listening to what other people are saying. Okay? Now, I don't have a television in here. And I did that. My wife asked me if I'd like a TV. I go, I don't want one. I mean, it'd certainly be easy to zone out and watch TV or zone out on my phone and watch YouTube videos or Netflix, but I'm not going to do it. Why? Because it's a discipline. I want to get familiar with myself. I want to create. I've created so much in the last couple of weeks. I finished my Summit Leadership book. It's now at the editor. I finished another ebook that's got a self-study kit that you guys will all be able to get for free here soon. I mean, I've created all these great things that I would have not done. Why? Because I'm hanging around with other people and dealing with all their other stuff. Okay? So probably one of the most important tips, Ants, is how do you avoid the noise if you're stuck at home with the noise? Create some boundaries, create some rules. Let them know if you need to, and say, look, and I'm going to warn you, it's going to be painful at first. Why? Because anything new is painful. That you're going to, particularly if you're going to create boundaries, they're going to separate you a little bit. Say, look, if you got something really good and uplifting and I had a win, share it with me. But right now, for the rest of the day, I'm not open to that stuff. I really don't want to hear it, and I'm going to be doing some other stuff, and I'm not ignoring you, and it's not about you. This is about me. This is about my own mental health. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with your mental health? No, but if I continue to wear all this, it could be. So are you okay if I do that? And what are they going to say? No, you're not allowed to. They may not be happy, but they'll get used to it, because then they'll learn that maybe they need to do that for themselves too. And maybe they'll also learn that maybe they should stop whining so much and start talking about things that are more uplifting. Interesting. For things to change, first you change. Okay. So that's the first advice that I give to you. Okay. So Ants, I hope you're here somewhere. I hope you got that. Hey, hi, Vietnam. Discipline. Okay, I'm doing great, Joachim. I'm doing great. So thanks for asking. Now, there was another question from last week that I didn't answer. This is by Angelus Pascaline. Angelus Pascaline. So if you're there, this one's yours. They say that one side of COVID is getting depressed. What do you think? They say that depression, basically she's saying depression comes with COVID. So here's what I'm going to tell you. Think about this. Everything you've heard about COVID says the same thing, right? It says that COVID attacks people hardest that have what are called underlying issues with their health. Underlying issues. Maybe they have diabetes. Maybe they're overweight. Maybe they're a smoker. Maybe their lung capacity is not good. Could be they're just not in good physical shape. So what it has a tendency to do is it has a tendency to damage and really hurt people that have what's called underlying problems. Now, what's the CDC and the World Health Organization are talking about underlying physical health issues. What about underlying mental health issues? It does the same thing. This virus is a very mysterious virus that somehow has come into our world, and it preys upon the weaknesses it sees: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Doesn't matter. There are some people that are physically in pretty good shape, but they get very depressed. So does that mean that COVID comes with depression? No, it means that that person's mental and emotional state are not strong. That's what it means. And I would say this is that most of our world prior to COVID and through COVID, emotionally, not strong. We're not. Okay. And there's lots of reasons for that we don't need to get into, from school, from parents, from loving parents that are trying to protect their kids. And you keep trying to protect your kid. Don't let them make mistakes so they don't make mistakes. Therefore, then when something hits, they're unfit. They're not able to deal with it. Okay. So again, the virus was masterminded to control people in the world. Well, that's a nice idea. I just don't really think human beings are that smart. I mean, there's a lot of those conspiracy theories that say, well, it was done with this, it's got tracking devices and all that other stuff. I think that maybe somebody might have thought of that. I don't think it's that smart. I really don't think. What I do think is people will take advantage of it if they have the opportunity. I think that people mostly serve their own best interests. A lot of times, I'm going to say that if COVID-19, so I'm not even going to really address that because that's another whole theory, and you're welcome to believe it, and you might be right. But what I do know for a fact that COVID attacks people the hardest that have underlying health issues. And that's not just physical, it's also mental and emotional. Okay. So while it appears that depression comes with COVID, it comes because people are not strong emotionally. So Little Voice Mastery, if you have the book, is designed to teach you the techniques to be a little bit stronger. So when stuff comes up that's negative, rather than going global, saying it's always going to be this way. I think it's technique number 2. It's always going to be this way. It's never going to change. Okay. Well, that's not true. It's not always going to be that way. It's not always that way every day. Okay. So you got to compartmentalize it. What Martin Seligman found out in his book, Learned Optimism, and if you can see some of his stuff on YouTube, is that a person who blanket statements all negative stuff. So in other words, anything negative that happens, that everything's messed up. My life is messed up. The world is messed up. Never going to change. That's a pessimist. So what they do is they take a negative situation and they blanket it. That's called a pessimist. And it's all these tests you can take to find that out. Now, there's other people in the same situation, identical same situation, something goes wrong. The COVID hits, and they go, oh, well, so now I got to deal with this. I got to deal with this for right now. but it doesn't have an effect on the rest of my life. I can do this, I can do that, I can do other things, and it may let up, it may not, but I'll get used to the new. We'll get used to the new reality. It's the same instance, it's the same experience, but a different interpretation, a different way your mindset is. So for me, I'm naturally a pessimist. I would naturally say everything's messed up. But when I learned that from Seligman, I realized, okay, I can control my brain. That's how do I do it? Okay, negative things happen. They're temporary. It's not your fault. Okay, and it doesn't necessarily going to affect the rest of your life. Okay, as opposed to a win. When you get a win, you do the exact opposite in your head. You make it, if you have a win, something good happens, like all of a sudden you get a check that you weren't expecting. Money comes in the mail. You go, wow, it's obviously because I'm a great person. You attribute that to yourself. And you say, the whole day is going to be great now, and the world is a great place to live in. So you do the exact, what he teaches you actually do, it's a game you're playing with your brain. It's not being, people go, I'm being delusional. Yeah, if you're being delusional, if you allow your little voice to run rampant and you don't stop it, that's being delusional. The advantage you have over a bumblebee or a squirrel is you have the ability to choose your thoughts. And the good news is God, the Great Spirit, gave you the ability to only deal with one thought at a time. So you replace the negative one with a positive one. You do it a couple times in a row. Now you've got a track record. Okay? I know this is pretty deep for some of you. Somebody says, I'm an opportunist. The mind can only conceive and focus on one thought at a time. That's right. We get to choose it if it's positive or negative. Switch the script and believe in yourself. God bless you all abundantly. Well said, Charles. I agree with that 100%. Okay? And we have the choice. So the pandemic, the COVID, is a curse and a blessing. Okay? And that's how things happen in life. Okay? They come together. It's unity is plural, minimum of two, as Fuller would say. Day and night, up and down, male and female. Curse and blessing. So the blessing is we have an opportunity to see the cracks in our own emotional state. And we have the ability now to work on making it stronger. Make it stronger. That's it, The curse is obviously the disease itself. But if people were taking care of their health, taking care of their mental health, and all this hits, the world would not be suffering the way it's suffering right now. So I'm just going to say this is I think you might be right, Charles. I may be underestimating, but that's the optimist. That's the optimist side. That's the optimist side. See, here's the thing, Charles. I'm underestimating what humans can do when they're motivated. That's true. But the one thing you forget is those kind of people that would be motivated to try to control the world and all that, their egos are very big, very strong. And to get them all to cooperate and collaborate and do something together you can't get good people to do that, let alone people that looking to do bad. So again, you could be right. You could be right. Whether you're right or wrong, as you also said, your thoughts belong to you. Your thoughts belong to you. Yes, I'm feeling a lot better. How are you doing? I am Pastor Blady from Liberia. Blady Williams, good to meet you. Good to meet you. We're talking about the pandemic that's not COVID. The bigger pandemic, which is caused by COVID, which is the mental health pandemic. I think we mentioned last time that the number of overdoses and people becoming addicted on drugs and abuse and all that has skyrocketed in the last year around the world. Some places worse than others. But nobody's talking about it. Nobody's dealing with it. Everybody's talking about the virus, the physical virus, which is important. But the truth of it is what's more important in my mind, long-term, is the emotional side effects of all of this and how people respond to it. Like I said, the virus preys on weakness, physical, mental, and emotional weakness. So it's good because we get to see where you're at. Okay. Beatrice Hernandez, last time she said the code of honor that she learned in 2018 when she took the trainer program from me. has helped a lot to sustain she calls it a depression-free life. Depression-free life. Why? Because she created rules for herself. You don't need like 50 of them. You don't even need like 15 of them. You only need like 3 or 4. Okay. I'm only willing to surround myself with with people who are positive and uplifting, something like that. Or I'm not going to take responsibility for other people's psychosis, something like that. I agree. I'm committed to daily learning of personal development tools that'll make me healthy, wealthy, and stronger. These are, and I am, like I said, I'm unwilling to engage with people of negative mindset. Look, let me say this, and that's a pretty heavy statement. I'm not willing to engage with people of negative mindset. And I don't know if that's entirely possible, but it can certainly be your intention. When people start talking bad about other people, or when somebody starts blaming somebody else, you could, if you're courageous, you could very easily say, look, you're talking bad about somebody else, but I happen to know they don't think that about you. They actually think you're a pretty good person. Now, what do you think they're going to say? They're going to probably stop what they're saying, their negative talk about somebody else immediately, even if what you're saying in your mind, is not true. But if you say something like that, that's going to stop them in their tracks. They're not going to do that. Or if somebody's just dumping and whining and moaning and complaining, and you're saying, look, excuse me, I just kind of made it a rule that when people are whining, or you don't want to say whining and offend them, when people are blaming other circumstances and kind of borderline on victim mentality, I just don't want to be around, because I have a tendency to do that too, and I don't need it reinforced by somebody else. So if we could just change the subject, or I'm going to go now. Just say it. What's going to happen? They're going to haul off and punch you? I don't think so. They may be a little offended, but they'll remember it, and you will have helped them. It's a time to be courageous, my friends. It's a time to be courageous. In the UK today, we have 92% vaccinated. Great news as the country comes out of lockdown. Okay. Well, I'm testimony to the fact that just because they're vaccinated doesn't mean you don't get the disease, because in Israel, according to their statistics, 84% of the people who are getting the disease right now have all been vaccinated. It's just that it keeps you from getting it too badly, apparently. I don't know what the truth is. The only way you'll ever get to the truth about all this stuff is over time, because we haven't made enough mistakes. There hasn't been enough experience. It hasn't been tested that much. And we don't even, and the CDC says something one day and they say something that different the next day. I think that people are just grasping for straws to try to explain things. They'll figure it out one of these days, but in the meantime, you're never going to get great information. You have to come to your own conclusions. Okay? I'm a marketer. A lot of prospects tell me that they want to wait to work on their marketing or branding because of COVID. Their fear is people are not buying now, and they are confused about what to do. How do I motivate them to take action to fix their marketing now? Great question, Victor. Yay. I love that kind of a question. Okay. So Victor Fox. So you're a marketer with a lot of prospects and they want to wait. Okay. When there's no COVID, people want to wait because they're not written out. It's not the right time. I don't have the money, all that time. Now more than ever, the only way you can get out to people, you got to be able to market now, because selling, if you're particularly doing personal sales, is a bit limited right now. Okay. So marketing is critical right now. Why? Because to find out what your customers want, what are their fears? What are their wants? I'll tell you a couple things that we know about your customers right now. We know the customers right now want somebody that's there to protect them, that's got their back. They're not looking for somebody to hustle them. They're looking for somebody that's got their back. So whatever you can do to help them in that respect, if I'm a marketer and talking to my customers, I'm telling them you got to change your approach now. Now is not the time to wait. There are people that are waiting, people are not. Now, let me ask you something. Let's say this goes on for another year, 2 years. What's going to happen? The people that have kept marketing how are they going to be in terms of the market share, opposed to you that waited? You waited 2 years. They kept marketing for 2 years. Now, who do you think is going to be in better shape? I think it's a pretty obvious answer. Now, does your marketing the same? No, but you have to be more effective, more personal. One of my dear friends, a fellow by the name of Simon Bowen, Bowen, Bowen. He's from Perth, Australia. Brilliant marketer, brilliant sales guy, actually. And he specializes in how to sell higher ticket items and how to explain it and how to form a relationship. Now, I'm not going to go into all of it, but go to check him out, Simon Bowen. He creates visual models to do it. It's brilliant stuff. I use it all the time. So, but one of the things he says, you have to change from where you are in marketing, change from hustling and here are the features and the benefits and all that stuff, to now elevating yourself past the level of being a thought leader. Now, everybody wants to be a thought leader. That's not even good anymore. People are not looking for thought leaders. Everybody's a thought leader. They put I'm a thought leader in my industry, okay? They're looking for people with true wisdom. Wisdom. He calls it being a sage, S-A-G-E, being a sage. How do you articulate your message so people get that you provide real wisdom, real experience, real care, real protection, really have their back? Different conversation than the traditional marketing. So I'm going to say to you, Victor, is your approach to marketing can get very creative and very powerful right about now. And if you can use what I just said to you for them, to be even more powerful. So in other words, as a marketer, you're no longer a thought leader in the marketing industry. You're no longer just a great marketer. You provide wisdom. You're a sage. You take on the position, having been there, done that. Understand the real needs of people out there right now. Marketing's critical. Marketing's critical. We're doubling down on our marketing now. Okay. And the reason being is that now more than ever, we want people to know in our community that we're like this call, that we're here to help you. We're here to protect you. I'm not selling anything here. Okay. But what I am doing is I'm doing my best to offer value that's going to make a difference in your life. Okay. About taking ownership of your life. Great teacher. Oh, thank you, Blately. Good. Makes sense. Thank you so much. That's right. There you go. Good job, Victor. Yeah. So Karanjot says Simon Bowen. Simon, no E on the Simon. S-I-M-O-N, and then Bowen. And tell him Blair sent you. Okay. If you go there and you sign up for one of his free classes, tell him Blair sent you. Okay. We're good friends. So yeah. So again, coming back to you, if anybody has any other questions, let me scroll back, see if there's any questions I can handle here. Regarding the mental side of COVID. I see this around me. Elder people in India are suffering emotional numbness because of the lockdown and are suffering because they don't know how to articulate their emotions and don't know who to ask to help them. That's right. That's right, Karanjot. So what if you were the person that was able to help them with that? What if you were able to create a forum? What if you actually put out a video? I don't know what you do, but let's say you're a coach that actually you coach these things. And you say, look, I coach people in how to express and how to heal emotional pain. And the reason I do this is because I really care, right now more than ever, there's a lot of emotional pain out there and I feel it, and it doesn't have to be that way. My concern, and why you do what you do, a 1-minute video for free. And if you're interested, I'll be here next week and let's talk about it and just do what I'm doing. Help people out a little bit and do some marketing and all that other stuff too. But I think that you're right. There's a lot of older people because they're isolated to begin with, right? Even in good times, the elder people, we don't talk to them. We put them in a home. We don't talk. But now, I mean, they're going crazy. My mom's in one. And, and we have to go periodically talk, can't go in there sometimes, she's not locked down so much now, but she was, and, for over a year, we had to talk to her and everything and help her out because, you know what, those people carry the wisdom of their whole lives. and we're newbies. We're trying to figure stuff out. And the more we can learn from them, the more they can get to share their experience, the more healing for them and the more healing for us. Okay? Like I said, COVID's been a blessing in many ways. It's forced old people and young people to talk to each other. And you find there's some emotional pain there as well. So let them talk it through. You don't have to solve it, just ask them questions. So how's that feel? So what do you, with my mom, I'm not trying to fit. I'm not giving my mom advice. Are you kidding me? Because then we get into an argument. It's my mom. I love her, but we would get in an argument. I just ask her questions. Well, what about this? Why do you feel that way? So is there another way you could do it? Is there another way you could look at it? You know what? She's a bright woman. 90 years old, she's a bright woman. She's figured some things out in her life, as most of those people have, and they'll respond to those. Ask them questions. 300-400 years ago, the separation between the elderly and the young was not so great. The elderly were the chiefs, the medicine men, the shamans, the gurus of the tribes. And people went to them to ask them questions about their young lives. Maybe it's trying to bring that back. Maybe that's a good thing. Okay. Other questions. Great news of the country as you're coming out of lockdown. Okay, good. Well, I hope so. I hope that works. What other questions here? Charles, you got a lot of comments. I love it. Anytime. I love them. I see this around me, elder people. I don't know what I said, but if you hang, okay, Charles also says, I don't know who said it, but if you hang around, I think this was Jim Rohn. I think Jim Rohn got it from somebody else. If you hang around with 5 negative people, guess you're the 6th. Same for everything else. Yeah, I think the way he said it says you become a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I typically would count my family collectively as 1. Okay. But yeah, you are a reflection of the people you hang around with. We've heard it, birds of a feather flock together, all that kind of stuff. Now that's good and bad. And so during these times, it goes back to Ant's original question. You've got to set up how do you want your life to be? The purpose of a code of honor is you set the standard for who you want to be in your life. And we can't live up to it every day. It's just not possible because we're human. But what are the standards? Who do you want to be? And set the rules around it. What are your values? Are your values around family, love, integrity, education, health, whatever they are? And then create a rule for each one of those. Like, I agree, I'm going to work out 3 days a week with a trainer online. Okay, I'm going to work out 3 days, and I'm not going to put, and part of that rule is I'm not going to put toxic things into my body, no matter how good they taste. I'm just going to do that for 30 days, see how it goes. What could happen? The worst that could happen is you get healthier. And maybe you get a little grumpy, but eat more of better foods. Okay? But create some rules for yourself. Otherwise, I think as Beatrice was talking about, is if you don't create a code of honor for you, you don't have rules for yourself, then you become subjected to other people's rules. You become part of their rules because they make the rules. Okay. Now, if you live in a household, the house has rules, but the truth of it is you got to have your own for yourself as well. Okay. Do that. And I think you're going to see a big difference. Okay. All right. So we're kind of winding down on this live. This was a good one. Again, if you've got any questions, let me see if there's any more questions. Absolutely, Blair. This is Rashmi. Rashmi says, people who did not need hospitalization were running to hospitals just because of the anxiety. While working as a COVID warrior, my first aim was to calm them down and help them heal themselves. Good job, Rashmi. That's right. The anxiety is what's driving half the people to the ICU units. That's very good observation. Discipline. Discipline is the bridge between what you have and what you want. That's right. Another way of saying it is Mac Newton says, discipline is doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be doing it, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not. Okay? It's just something that you're going to do because in the long term, remember, short-term pain, long-term gain. Okay. Now the pain shouldn't be too bad, but I'm going to suffer a few push-ups every day with him as my trainer, because long-term, I want my immune system and my body to be healthy. Okay. So when COVID comes around, knock on wood, is that the symptom, I was fairly asymptomatic. Okay. And so again, I attribute that to discipline. Well said. Let's see what else. Daniel Kaninsny. Okay. So he says your mentoring helped because they helped me become financially free and creating a global company operating in 90 countries. I started last May. Now we have over 49,000 customers. I think it's customers, and we help people change their habits. Congratulations, Daniel. Woo, dude, that since May of last year, that's like just over a year. You're in 90 countries with 49,000 customers. Well, there you go. There's something that happened right in the middle of a pandemic. Go figure. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Daniel. And I think that your real gift, Daniel, I'm going to say this, be a little bold, is your real gift is not the 49,000. I mean, it's a great accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. It's not the 49,000 customers. The greatest gift is what you are able to learn through a pandemic and to teach other people that in the face of adversity, the things that they can do to improve their lives. Maybe that is what you're teaching. I don't know, but that's a great gift. That's right. That's the bumblebee. That's right. Svarama, that's right. That's the bumblebee. That's exactly what it's right. Okay. It's not the nectar. It's the pollination. It's what you're doing it's the things that are happening as a side effect of what you're creating. Okay. Short-term pain, long-term fulfillment of my life needs. Very good. Daniel is amazing. Yes, he is. Congratulations. You're welcome, Daniel. You earned it, dude. You earned it. And you also have earned the right to teach other people what you know, because that's what the world needs right now. Need great teachers, leaders, and facilitators that can teach people what you know so that we move ahead as humanity, not stepping back into the dark ages. Okay. All right, you guys, these have all been great comments. If you have other comments about the mental pandemic, we'll talk about those next week a little bit. I'm going to also want to talk next week about to figure out how to share my screen so I can give you a little recap of Kilimanjaro, so you can actually climb the mountain with me next week, and I can teach you some of the lessons if you would like that. Okay, so tell your friends to be there. I promise I'm going to figure out how to get these videos up here so I can share my screen on StreamYard. But if you have questions about the pandemic of mental health and Little Voice Mastery and how that plays, just post them on Facebook, and I'll get each and every one of them. Okay. All right. Oh, Danny says I've also had 49,000 customers walking at least 10,000 steps a day. Oh, good. So you can next year you can take 10,000 steps up and down Kilimanjaro. How about that? That'll be good. 100-Day Challenge program by Blair Singer is kick ass. Everyone should go through it. My team loved it. Check it out. The 100-Day Challenge. Okay, good. Awesome. All right, you guys, be amazing. Take care of your loved ones. Take care of your elderly loved ones as well. And get yourself in better physical, emotional shape. Read Little Voice Mastery if you need to. There's a lot of free stuff at blairsinger.com. Actually, there's a 21-day challenge of Little Voice Mastery, and you can get that at the website, blairsinger.com. Just 1 day, new technique every day. Just apply it, learn it, and you're good to go, okay? All right? Love you guys. Thank you so much for your comments. Next time I see you, you'll be in a different venue. All right? Be amazing.